A very good morning to you all aspirants. Welcome to the Civilspedia's Daily Current Affairs Analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, and today's date is 8th of August 2025. And before getting into the topic for the today's discussion, we are requesting you to please subscribe to the Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel and click the bell icon for receiving the prompt notification as well as to get the clear updates from our side. And the topics taken for today's discussion are the starfish, which got its prominence because of the recent dwindling in numbers and the research behind the death of the starfish in large numbers. And the second topic is the coral reef, which is also in news because of the artificial reef initiative taken by the government of Maharashtra. And the third topic is the 80-year completion of Hiroshima. And the fourth topic is the Smithophis snake, which is a rainy snake found in the Mizoram's forest region. And the fifth topic is the microplastics and its potential impact on the ecosystem as well as the marine environment. In this section of video, we are going to know about the species known as starfish, which is a keystone species, and it is in news because of the mass destruction of this population. That is around 5 billion of starfish has been wasted away in the 12 year down the line because of the mysterious disease, and the recent research behind this mysterious disease will reveal the causative agent behind this mysterious disease and the wasting away of the population of starfish. And this news article was taken from the New Indian Express. With this, we move to the further section of the video where we get to know more about the starfish species. The starfish or sea stars has a various species present, and they are all of dying in nature because of this wasting disease, and around 5 billion has been wasted away because of this mysterious disease since 2013. And the wasting disease epidemic was found along the Pacific coast of North America and all the way from the freezing waters of Alaska to the warmer areas of Mexican shores. And the causative agent or the causative organism was initially thought to be the virus, but later finding will reveal the organism called as Vibrio pectinicida, which is a bacteria which is very related to the causative organism of cholera in the humans. And this Vibrio pectinicida will also lead to the decline in number of population in large numbers of starfish in the marine ecosystem. And this wasting disease has impacted the starfish as a whole, but the most affected of the starfish species was the sunflower sea stars, which was mostly affected. And the population of these sunflower sea stars, with the effect of this Vibrio pectinicida, will lead to the decline in number of large number of population, with around 90% of its population got dwindled. And why this starfish is matters, because this starfish acts as a keystone species. And what is keystone species? Irrespective of its numbers or disproportionality of its population, it has a specific influence on its natural ecosystem or its natural habitat or the natural environment it presents. This starfish species also maintains a marine food chain stability and sustainability around its ecosystem, and it preys on sea urchins, which is also another species which on preying the sea urchins, with it strike a balance between the ecosystem and control the population of sea urchins, which will eventually destroy the population of forest kelps, which will be a fodder of many other organisms. And by the mass destruction of this starfish species led to the explosion or the population outnumber of this sea urchin species. This sea urchin species will eventually destroy the kelp forest. This kelp forest is also known as the forest of the marine ecosystem, and this kelp forest also has a crucial role in the marine biodiversity, as it also acts as a fodder for many other marine organisms, and it also acts as a bank for storing carbons. That is, it will help in the carbon sequestration process. And with this, we move to the next topic. This news article taken from the New Indian Express will elicit about the new initiative taken by the Maharashtra government with respect to the creation of artificial reef by the decommissioned Navy ship called as INS Guldar, and this process of creating artificial reef will be done by the deliberate sinking of this decommissioned Navy's warship INS Guldar, or scuttling of the ship into the marine environment to create a artificial reef. And this initiative will also provide a stimulus to the ecotourism as well as the environment for the coral reef to thrive. With this article, we are going to know about what is a coral reef and a quick overview about the INS Guldar. And this INS Guldar is a type of warship that is Gambhir class classified Gambhir class warship, and it is a type of landing ship designed for the warfare used in the amphibious warfare, and it is also capable of landing in the beaches. That it is its peculiar feature, and it also participated in the India's peacekeeping mission in Sri Lanka, as well as it operated against the liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam across the beaches of Jaffna and Trichinomalai in Sri Lanka. And this coral reef is a marine ecosystem formed along the shores or in the shallow waters, will be found in the colonies of tiny organisms called coral polyps, which makes the structure of coral reefs in the ocean. And this coral polyps will secrete a separate chemical component called the calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3, which creates the basic structure or the standing structure of this coral reef. And this coral polyps and the coral reef needs a certain condition under which this coral reef can sustain, that are it needs warm waters, as well as the water needs to be in a shallow manner, and it also has to be in a clean environment. It also needs adequate sunlight for its sustainable, and the water temperature needs to be between the range of 23 to 29 degrees Celsius. If there is no coral reef present or there is a coral bleaching event happened, it also acts as a biological indicator that the environment is not viable for sustainable. And there are three types of coral reef present across the globe. The first type is the fringing reef, which is found near the shores, that is close to shores. In the diagrammatic depiction, we can see that the coral reef can be found along the shores of the land area, and the classic example was the Gulf of Mannar, and the second classic example on the type of coral reef was the barrier reef, which was separated from land by a small area of water called the lagoon. In this diagrammatic depiction, this is the land area, and this is the zone where the lagoon formation, and this is the barrier reef that present around the lagoon area. And the third type of coral reef was the formation through atolls. It is a ring shaped reef where we can found only the reef structure above the sea level, but the land surface was subside under the water. But in the barrier reef, we can see that the land surface was above the sea level, but in the lagoon atoll area, we can found the land surface below the sea level, but we can see the atoll reef above the sea level. And with respect to the ecological importance that the coral reef present was that it is also known as the rainforest of the sea, and it also supports 25% of the marine biodiversity, and it also protects the coastline from erosion and storm surges, as it significantly reduces the impact caused by this storm surges as well as the tidal surges by acting as a buffer, and it also aid in the cycling of nutrients as well as the carbon cycle mechanism. And the distribution of this coral reef in India was found to be in the fringes of Gulf of Kutch region of Gujarat, where we can find the fringing reef, and we can also find the coral reef along the Gulf of Mannar region, where it is also been a fringing reef manner, and the atoll reef was found in the Lakshadweep region, and the Andaman and Nicobar has the coral feature of fringing as well as barrier type. and the threat possessed by this threat to the coral reef was categorized into various manners, and the prominent threat was due to the climate change activities, which led to the coral bleaching event, which is very significant indicator of an environment which is viable or not. And this led to the coral bleaching event because of the warming of ocean. And the second major threat was the ocean acidification, which also creates a stress to the coral polyps. And the third and foremost was the pollution and coastal development activities, which also creates the stress to the coral reefs. And the fourth was the destructive activities or the destruction provided by the fishing practices. And the last and final thing was the coral mining and ecotourism activities, which also makes the greater impact on the sustainability and the survivability of the coral reefs. And we have to know what is coral bleaching. It is a stress response in which coral expels this symbiotic algae called zooxanthellae. For before that, we have to know what is this symbiotic relationship. It is very relevant and very important to the UPSC prelims preparation, that this coral and zooxanthellae are in symbiotic relationship, that it is a mutualistic relationship, because this coral reefs and the coral polyps will provide protection to the zooxanthellae, and this zooxanthellae present inside the coral polyps will acts as a photosynthetic mechanism. This algae of zooxanthellae will involved in the process of photosynthesis, will create energy source for this coral to survive. And with this coral bleaching event, because of the warming of ocean, this coral polyp will expel this zooxanthellae, will lead to the bleaching of this event. And we can easily after the expulsion of this zooxanthellae from this coral polyp, only the physical structure, that is the calcium carbonate structure, will be visible to our eyesight. That is the reason we named it as the coral bleaching. This causes coral to turn into white. That is only we can visible the physical structure, that is calcium carbonate structure. This will significantly or more cautiously important with respect to the coral survivability, because it affects the survival by starving them for food. That zooxanthellae expulsion will starve the corals for food, and it also led to the various other infections and susceptible to various toxic environments, and it also loses the major source of energy. With this, we move to the next article. The August 6th of 2025 marks the 80th year of dropping of nuclear bomb over the Hiroshima. And this news article taken from The Hindu will elicit about the tragic events happened at the Second World War time and the dropping of nuclear bomb over the Hiroshima. And with this article, we are going to discuss about the norm of non-use, that is with respect to this usage of nuclear weapon and its challenges associated with it, along with the reforms need to be taken. With this, we move to the further section of the video where we discuss the norm of non-use in detail. And this norm of non-use was presently supported by the framework called as treaty-based framework, which contains non-proliferation treaty, which was formally approved by the United Nations General Assembly in the year of 1968, but it got formally enforced in the year of 1970, and it is only legally binding treaty upon the nuclear weapon states, and it strives to the non-proliferation of nuclear weapon or the distribution or the exchange of nuclear weapon between the nations, and it also emphasizes the peaceful usage of this nuclear technology as well as nuclear weapon and the gradual disarmament of nuclear technologies. And this implies the stigmatizing of nuclear technology and nuclear armament between the nations, and gradually got of non-use by the nations. And the second treaty framework was the Comprehensive Trust Ban Treaty, that is CTBT, which was introduced in the year 1996, which will exclusively prohibits the usage of nuclear experiment by nuclear testing as well as nuclear explosions. And it is not in force because of this was not up to the mark ratified by the nations, and it also enforces the against the creation of new nuclear weapon technology as well as nuclear armaments. And the third framework contains the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapon, which was introduced in 2017, which holistically bans the development, possession, use, and threat of this nuclear weapon across the nation. And it contains very strong legal framework and norm, which makes the countries not to ratify or sign this treaty on prohibition of nuclear weapon, as no nuclear state has been yet signed this treaty. And the second thing which is supporting the non-use norm was the legal opinion provided by the International Court of Justice, and its advisory opinion given in the year of 1996. In that opinion provided by the International Court of Justice, that it stated that the usage or threat was generally contrary to the norms provided by the international humanitarian law, that usage of this nuclear weapon in an ardent manner will be an illegal, but it what makes it adversary is that the moral legal weight that provided by this International Court of Justice over this nuclear armament and the nuclear technology was, when the nation was under threat, its usage was not inevitable, like that the International Court of Justice has opined. So it creates an adversary or confusing effect over this ruling, and there is no legal binding of this treaty, because it need not to be emphasized by the International Court of Justice. If there is a legal rule or the binding rule which was ratified by all the nations, the International Court of Justice will provide the compliance mechanism for this binding nature, but there is no such mechanism present. And the third framework which supports the non-use norm was the strategic deterrence. That is, in the strategic deterrence, the doctrine which was prominently used was called as mutual assured destruction. That is, both the nations or both the countries which was in the conflict zone or in direct conflict know about that usage of this nuclear weapon between both the nation will create annihilation of both the states, and which led to the retaliation or the refrainment from such activities, which this deterrence will paradoxically upholds the non-use of this nuclear weapon between both the nations. And the fourth framework in this non-use norm was that diplomatic and civil society pressure, upon which the nations will be pinned down because of its moral persuasion given by the tools like United Nations resolution and the separate campaign which was run by the non-governmental organization called the ICAN, that is international campaign for the abolition of nuclear weapons, and the awarding of new peace prize will also persuade the nations to refrain from using such nuclear weapons. And it also reinforces the stigmatizing behavior over the nation from refraining them from using this nuclear weapons. And what are the challenges for implementation or the establishment of this norm of non-use was that erosion of global order, that is, if there is a supremacy needs to be shown by some nation, it will be eroded, like great power rivalry will be the primary reason for the nation to establish its power, but it got eroded, will feel that they are insecure will make them not to bind by these treaties, will decline the trust also in the multilateralism, and the good faith among the nations will lead to the non-binding of this treaty, and this non-use of non was of no use. And the second was the nuclear threat and saber rattling, that is military threat by the other nation of using this nuclear weapon. And a classic example right now was the Russia's present threat to Ukraine with the usage of this nuclear weapon over the Ukraine area. This will eventually normalize the norm of conventional war with the usage of this nuclear weapon. And the recent stand of India with respect to the no tolerance will also significantly signals the escalation of risk of usage of nuclear weapons. And the third challenge was the nuclear modernization, that countries are developing nuclear weapons and they improvise the technology used in the nuclear weapons, but they need to be forbade this activity of further processing the nuclear technology or nuclear weapon technology. This will be a more challenging event, and they need to be taken into account of using this for nuclear disarmament. And the fourth one was the legal ambiguity, that there is no global compliance or the global ban mechanism present, and the treaty which was established earlier was of no use because of the non-binding it is of binding nature, but the non-compliance or the non-signatory nations will feel them discriminatory, and the ICJ's ruling over the general usage of this nuclear weapons was unlawful, but it is not illegal if the state was threatened. And what are all the reforms that needs to be taken or to the disarmament or the forbidding of this nuclear weapon technology as well as the nuclear escalation nuclear weapon was universalize the treaty of prohibition of nuclear weapons, will create or urge the nuclear states to sign and ratify this treaty, will make them use or possession of this nuclear weapons are legally and morally acceptable one. And the second reform that needs to be taken was the reform in the military doctrines, like promotion of no first use by Indian government and all other military nations, and its strategic military policies needs to be taken, and to eliminate tactical nukes that lower use of threshold. And the other initiative or the other reform that needs to be taken was the strengthening of the non-proliferation treaty as well as the comprehensive test ban treaty, as this non-proliferation treaty was a binding treaty, but it need to be enforced as the genuine disarmament under the treaty, because there is a criticism over this non-proliferation treaty that it is a discriminative treaty, will segregate the non-nuclear state as well as the nuclear states in a discriminate manner. So that needs to be addressed properly, and the comprehensive test ban treaty needs to be implemented in a full force. And the fourth reform that needs to be taken was the empowering major global institutions with respect to this nuclear disarmament, especially the International Atomic Energy Agency, which will be the overviewing body of non-proliferation treaty, and strengthening this International Atomic Energy Agency bodies as well as other various institutions will enhance the compatibility as well as the compliance mechanism needs to be properly devised to establish a non-nuclear nation or non-nuclear world. And the body established in a global manner was of very balanced in nature, and will overview or mediate in a correct manner. And the final reform that needs to be addressed was the sustainable public pressure, that is constant pressure need to be given from the public side, or like support given by the ICANN that we discussed, that international campaign for the abolition of nuclear weapon will be uh, spread to all the nations as well as every people of around the globe. And the public and political public was in the forefront, because the apart from political focus, the public needs to be the primary focus of the nation, as well as the global leaders need to keep in mind on usage of this nuclear weapon. This news article taken from The Hindu will elicit about a new species which was found to be in the Mizoram's forest region, and the new species found was a rain snake, and it has a very distinguishing characters with respect to its genetic variety as well as the morphological features, and we will get to know more about this in the further section. And let's move to the further section of this video. And with respect to the scientific discovery of this new species, it was found to be in the binomial name, or identified by the binomial name called as Smithophis leptophaciatus, and it is commonly called as narrow-banded rain snake, which is a type of non-venomous snake. In the Mizoram region, it was called by the local name called Warul, and it is the fine third species to be of the Smithophis genus to be found in the Mizoram region. And with respect to the distinguishing features of this Smithophis leptophaciatus, it has a very distinguishing color pattern, and it has very shiny black body with a narrow, incomplete creamish white or yellowish line bands, which makes it more peculiar from other Smithophis species, and it has been earlier misidentified as a Smithophis bicolor brown trapezoid, or commonly called as brown trapezoid, but later it got confirmed as a separate species upon its research over genetic variation as well as its morphological features. It has been identified as a new species called Smithophis leptophaciatus, and it also shows a very uh, dramatic variations in the genetic as well as morphological features, and it shows around 11.5% of genetic as well as morphological difference compared to the other Smithophis species found in the Mizoram region. And with respect to the habitat behavior and the distribution of this Smithophis leptophaciatus, it is to be found mostly in the humid areas as well as the shady forest areas of Mizoram region, and it is a semi-aquatic reptile, and it is very active during the night time. That is, it has been characterized as nocturnal animal, and it is a semi-aquatic, so it has to be it will be found along the near the small streams, and it also favors the elevated area, so it is to be found in the 900 to 1200 meters above the land level, and it is very active during the monsoon season, that is very during the rainy season, hence it is called as the rain snake. And with respect to the significance that the new discovery of species with respect to Mizoram is that Mizoram's role of biodiversity hotspot got its more significance because of this dense forest as well as the species diversification it got, as well as it also has the tropical evergreen forest, so it got its more significance with respect to the conservation of other species, as well as it reiterates and reinforces the state's importance in the evolution of this Smithophis species, because it is a newly identified species, and as well as it also has the three variety of Smithophis genus present in the Mizoram region, and the other two Smithophis species found in the Mizoram region was Smithophis antemporalis, which is categorized as IUCN's least concerned list, and in the other variety is Smithophis mizoramanensis, which is categorized in the IUCN Red List as vulnerable. And with respect to this newly identified Smithophis leptofasciatus, it has not been yet identified with any of the IUCN Red List, as it has the data insufficient in the, it has been presently categorized as data insufficient in the IUCN Red List. So with respect to the UPSC prelims point of view, we have to know that this newly found species has not been categorized in any of this IUCN Red List. So they may ask about what is the category of this species, and it has been the characteristic features has been tweaked in the question. So we have to know about the specific features as well as the category in which the species got categorized. With this, we conclude this topic and we will move to the next topic. This news article taken from The Hindu will exclusively deals with the contamination caused by microplastics along the Indian coast. And this microplastic is a major contaminant in the marine ecosystem as well as the river ecosystem. And this was based on the findings of survey conducted by Ministry of Earth Science and through the National Center for Coastal Research. And with this, we move to the further section of this video where we can find the what is microplastics and its threat to the environment and ecosystem it contaminates. And with respect to the study of this which was conducted by the Ministry of Earth Science through the National Center for Coastal Research, and this study was conducted between 2022 to 2025 with the objective to assess the level of microplastic pollution in the marine environment as well as the assessing the marine debris presence in the coastal region. And the area covered during this survey was categorized into two, that is West Coast as well as East Coast. With respect to the West Coast, the area covered was 19 transects from Gujarat's Porbandar to Tamil Nadu's Kanyakumari, and the East Coast was covered by 25 transects from Puri in Odisha to Thuthukudi in Tamil Nadu. And what is the major finding that the survey was found was the predominant source of microplastic pollution was through the riverine inputs, and the major pollutant of microplastic which was incurred into the marine environment was through the riverine inputs, and majorly caused by the abandoned, lost and discarded fishing gears by the fishermen will cause the microplastic pollution into a more number in the environment. And with respect to microplastic, microplastic is a tiny plastic particles typically range from 1 micrometer, that is 1 nanometer, to 5 millimeters, and the microplastics has been classified or characterized into two types, that is primary microplastics as well as the secondary microplastics. And what is primary microplastics? The plastics which are manufactured at that size, that is on the production stage itself, it has been within the range of microplastic, that is 1 micrometer to 5 millimeters, like examples like microbeads in cosmetics, that is used in the cosmetic items. And with respect to the secondary microplastics, they are formed due to the breakdown of major plastics or the larger plastic items or the disintegration of plastic items into smaller parts. And what is the major concern of this microplastic pollution with respect to the environment? Or it contaminates the marine environment, and also it also poses a great risk to the ecosystem of marine environment, and it also affects the food chain by contaminating the food chain of various ecosystems as well as especially the marine ecosystem, because it contaminates or infested into the marine ecosystem, and it also lead to the health deterioration of various other species like filter feeders like stingrays and whale species. And it also poses a great risk to the human health because it poses a risk of carcinogenic, and it also affects the water quality by degrading the water quality, and also great risk to humans as well as the organism which infested this microplastics. And what is the major reason for this contamination of microplastic pollution into a great threat? Because it was non-degradable, or it will degrade in a slow manner, so it persists in the environment in the longer run. So it infests more and more, which poses a great risk, and it also acts as a pollutant carrier. And with apart from the research findings, there is also research conducted by the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which commenced the project in the year of 2024, with specifically related to the microplastic contamination in the food products. And the reason for this study was quoted as rising concern over the microplastic infestation in the food varieties. That is with respect to the packaging materials and the covers used, and the usage of water, which also led to the infesting of microplastic pollution in the food that we consume. And the objective of this research conducted by the Food Safety and Standard Authority is to assess the contamination levels in the food with respect to the microplastic pollution, and to develop the detection mechanism or the method to eliminate or to avoid this microplastic pollution in the food items. And also there is a toxic link, that is an environmental research organization that conducted a test with respect to 10 salt varieties or 10 salt types, which also found that the microplastic pollution to be found in all the varieties that they have taken into research. And it also found to be detected that the various forms of microplastics has been found in the types of salt that we used, in the form of fibers, pellets, and films and fragments. These are the types of microplastic pollution that was infested in the food items as well as the items taken for research, that is salt. With this, we move to the next topic. Hope you guys like the video. Please share your positive comments in the comment section given below, and share the video to your friends, and stay in touch with us by subscribing to the Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. And don't forget to click the bell icon for receiving the prompt notification.